Back on Sports 225, and this theme continues where I'm really the youngest guy on the show. Well, Brock Cantro's younger, but how about Frank Bryan, 89 years old, looking good, huh?
Standing there watching Frank, I thought, I just saw a show last night you did with Bob Pettit. Both of these men have three things really in common. Number one, they were great basketball players. There were none better during that time. And history-wise in LSU, obviously these are two of the 5 best players ever. Number two, they both are gentlemen. And number three, they're doggone handsome guys. And in good shape, both of them. I thought, doggone, I hope at 90 I can be like Frank.
Well, let me say first, you know, it goes without saying almost that Dale Brown needs no introduction, and I didn't even introduce him, and anybody watching this show I'm sure knew who he was, but it is Dale Brown, the former LSU basketball coach. And you, sir, at 77 look pretty darn good. And you've stayed fit. You've had a couple of battles with health since you retired, but you've overcome them every time, and you're remarkable.
I think probably if I was to sum it up would be number one, you have to know. Now, it doesn't take a Rhodes Scholar. I went to Minot State Teachers College. So 7 billion people are walking the planet. Of the 7 billion, all of us are going to face some form of adversity. Now, the secret is adversity only visits the strong, but stays forever with the weak. And it's your decision. Am I going to be strong or weak? So whenever adversity has visited me, I wanted to strangle it before it strangled me.
Well, there are things though, like if you have a stroke, which Dale did, of course you have to, you get medical attention and things go. But when one has, say, flesh-eating bacteria and refuses to go to the doctor for 2 weeks or something, right? That was the case, what was that, 10, 12 years ago, whatever?
Yeah, necrotizing fasciitis.
Unbelievable.
I heard the doctor tell my wife, 70% of people that get this die. I took her out of my room, but I heard him. And again, a miracle. We're very reluctantly, particularly to the medical profession, to admit that maybe there are such things as miracles and maybe the spirituality and there is a power in prayer. I'm a product of that. I got through it twice.
Well, as long as we're on that, when you had the stroke, and I told you this before since you and I have talked, when I covered Dale Brown, I think for the last 8 years of his career when I was a beat writer at The Advocate, and because I never felt like I could write fast enough to keep up with him, I always used a tape recorder. And so during the course of our conversations, whether they were in interviews or post-game or wherever we were, I always watched Dale speak and would just take notes and then transcribe. So after you had the stroke, I expected there would be some change in your speech pattern or something, and there was none. And that, because you had, correct me if I'm wrong, something like 95% blockage of a cardiac artery.
Carotid arteries.
Yeah, and
correct.
And right? That made no sense whatsoever that you could heal so quickly, and you had no speech pattern effect whatsoever. Yeah, it is.
I'm blessed, and I know it.
Yeah. In the rest of this segment, let's let people know what you've been doing, because I know you still come to LSU basketball games, but you still travel. One of your grandsons playing at a pretty high level.
Do a lot of motivational speaking. My middle grandson, who played here during the Christmas break, is a prep school, a junior in New Hampshire. He'll play Division I. Now, what level of Division I, I don't know, but he's also very academically inclined to do well, and he's doing well in that area. So I just hope he continues to push himself, and if he can play Division I, bravo, and if he can't, play college basketball somewhere.
Well, I know it means a lot to you, and Robin, your daughter, who wasn't an athlete but was with you all the time and you're very close to, but to have grandsons who play sports, I know it's been very significant. And they've been out on the West Coast, and you've made a point to get out there and go see them play.
Much more emotional watching a loved one than actually playing it yourself or coaching your team. If it's a member of your family, that's just the genes. You just want him to do so well. But I think he's programmed. John Wooden, and I told Peyton this, when John Wooden left to go to Purdue University, his daddy walked him out to the bus, and he told him, Johnny, it can really be a tough, confusing world. He said, so let me give you a little bit of advice. Don't go up to Purdue and try to be better than anyone else, but Johnny, never cease to be the best you can be, because God don't make any junk, and you'll do well. Needless to say, he did pretty well, being the best he could be.
Well, a lot of people forget, too, if you don't know the history of John Wooden, the great UCLA basketball coach, that he was an All-American at Purdue. I want to
Sure
say in the
was.
30s, like 1935,
That's right.
something like that. Does that
Correct.
sound right? Now, since you and I haven't done television together, of course, we've seen each other and visit, but last spring I was at UCLA, and I made a point to take time to go through that athletics museum they have on campus, which I want to say UCLA has won over 100 NCAA championships in all different sports. And so when you go through there, it's mind-blowing to see all the athletes who have gone there. But the special section about John Wooden, it just gives me goosebumps even talking about
And
it now.
that's actually his stuff.
Yeah,
You know that.
yeah.
That's not substitute furniture.
And you've been, of course, to that
Yes,
that
yeah.
exhibit. That's quite a
Yeah.
campus and quite a whole deal.
Very much.
Yeah. I got to meet John Wooden a couple of times because of Dale when he came here. I don't know. I want to say 93, 94. He came and visited you, and then 95 or 6.
Came here several times.
Yeah, and then I'm talking about during the time I covered the basketball team, though, and then
Okay.
95, 96, one of those years.
My last
went
year
to
he
the
came, too.
to the John Wooden Classic.
Correct.
And played.
Correct. Louisville.
Yeah, out there. How about that, huh?
Pretty good memory.
Well, you know.
Pretty good.
I remember the times I go to LA. I'm sure I was stuck in traffic. Dale Brown is here. He is the former basketball coach at LSU. When we get back, we'll talk about something that made him very, very happy, which was Johnny Jones, his former player and assistant coach, taking over as head coach. I'm Lee Feinswog. You're watching Sports 225.